Domestic violence is a thing that you would think it would have waned down by now, but it hasn't. I think it's gotten worse.
I do. Yeah, I
And
do too.
so, yeah, and I just want to kind of get a little bit into, you know, just kind of get into the strength of it all. Like,
Mhm.
okay, well, let me just start off with before you got into the strength to leave that situation. When you got into it, and you were you hoping to explore family life with this person? Because I know you said you had the children with him, but even though your mom
Mhm.
was not there as far as having children at the time, but you had two children with him. Like, did you see family in your in that space at that time? Oh no.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
listen, okay, so
Okay.
it's weird because it's weird, I think about this and I had to like unpack it in therapy, but I always wanted to be child free. I never wanted to be married. I was explicit. I never nobody ever no woman in my life ever pushed me towards marriage or anything like that because I
Right.
was always very vocal about it. Because I used to ask myself, like, why did my mother ever push me to like marry, right? Or did like that was like in like like
Because I don't think it
drilled
was
into your head.
was
She
you
never
surrounded by
drilled it
it?
into she
Yeah,
never did it. Yeah, and I
right.
think it was because I was so vocal and I used to say based on my mom and dad getting a divorce, I never wanted to
Mhm.
get married because I don't want to get a divorce. So that was always
Party,
my
right,
thing.
right. So she didn't push it. But I'm asking because I know, I mean, may not say it was in the cards for you, but it was something about the circumstance that you were in at that time that shifted your way of thinking to where
I'll
you
tell you. I'll
okay,
tell you what happened. So I
okay.
moved to Atlanta and I moved there with a friend from high school. We moved there for the same reasons to buy homes. Um, and then I had a friend whose parents lived there. And so I didn't have a community around me. And I met this guy, and he was very nice and he was did the whole love bombing thing.
Yes, yes.
And because I often say if I were in LA and under the same circumstances met him, I would have never continued the relationship. But it was because I was isolated,
Got
right?
you.
I didn't have my father, I didn't have my grandfather, I didn't have my mom, I didn't have
Mm,
my cousins, I didn't have anybody around. I did have one friend who said that she didn't like him, but I didn't listen to her. I really didn't take relationship advice from her. Um, and then it didn't last long. We were together from 2006 to the beginning of 2009, and half of that time he was incarcerated. So after I met him, he was selling firearms without a license, and he went to jail for a year and a day. And that happened like from the time it was like a love bombing. So from the time I met him, I was pregnant within in the 6 months, in the first 6 months, and then he went to prison and was there for a year and a half. So I delivered my first son without him being
without
there.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without him being there.
Mm,
And he wasn't there for the second one because he was actually like in the car on the way. So he wasn't there for the second delivery either. But we were on our way out. And it got bad right away. And the first sign was when I first moved to Atlanta, my grandmother had passed. And I was in the bathroom crying, right? This is the woman who raised me. I was crying, I
yes.
was emotional. And he opened the door and was just very insensitive and like, what are you crying for? And things like that. And that was like
Mm,
one of the first signs.
mm.
And then after he came home after being incarcerated and was very mean to me, was really mean, was really just verbally abusive. And then it became physically abusive. And then I left after 7 days after delivering my second son. hmm
Yeah.
And the reason why I stayed, or the reason why it lasted as long as it did, is because I didn't have a support
And
system.
your support system, right, right.
Yeah, I didn't have a
You was halfway out, across the country,
Yeah, I
where
was
you at,
like
yeah.
by myself. And so I was like a prime candidate for an abusive person to like enter a relationship with me, try to be controlling, right? Like, don't get any more tattoos, don't do this, don't dye your hair, and don't do all of this stuff, right? So yeah, that was, you know, around that time, you know, I was just like, oh, I have two children now. I knew that when I got with him, that it wasn't going to be long. I remember saying to myself this is not going to last more than 5 years. I knew it. Like I knew it. It was like something that in me, and it lasted less than three. Yeah.
So now I want to get more into the strength of you being able to leave, because some, unfortunately, some women and men are
Yeah.
don't have that ability to, I mean, and I think they are aware of the toxicity of it, but
Hmm.
there's so many different reasons, and we could get all into it all night, but we can't. But there's
Yeah.
so many different reasons why, it's hard for them to leave, or they just can't leave, because it's not always easy depending on the circumstances, and
Hmm.
each one is so different.
Yeah.
And
Everything
yeah,
is
it
it's so
is.
different, but the same, right? It's like it's
Right.
almost like if I share, like me sharing my story, I bet there will be a woman who says, "Oh my
Oh, yeah.
God, did you date the same man?" Because the same thing happened to me, you know.
Right.
Um, yeah. What gave me the strength to leave was I walked into my bathroom one day and I looked myself in the face and I asked myself, for the rest of your life?
Mm.
And that was done after that. I was like, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. No matter how I feel about myself, I felt like I was hustled, right? I felt like I was hustled.
Yes,
I felt like
yes.
I was duped. And so, no matter how I feel ashamed or feel the guilt of being hustled and duped by this man, I'm not going to stay in this. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I didn't want to stay to be like, because I was one that was never in a relationship throughout my life. I haven't had many
Mhm.
um,
Right.
boyfriends, right? So people were surprised, like, oh my God, Erica's in a relationship. She has two kids. And, some people might look at that as like, oh, that's a reason to stay for the family. I was not doing that. And I remember my mother was a woman who left an abusive relationship. My grandmother was a woman who left an abusive relationship. So I come from a line of women that don't stay in abusive relationships. So I was out. I
Yeah,
was,
and that's very rare too, that you said that, Erica, because we know, a lot of us come from generations of people who remain stagnant, remain dormant, to, you know,
mhm.
those type of relationships. So congratulations on getting up that strength to leave that situation with two small babies, by the way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
18
yeah,
months and a newborn. I was out of
yeah.
there. I was like, I was not out of there. He was out of there. I was in my house.
Oh, shoot. All right. You better
He had
tell
to
us.
go.
Yeah. And okay, let me ask you that. How would that, because a lot of times when, especially when a man and that, who wants, to be in control, and sometimes when you leave a domestic violence situation, that makes them even more angry and more,
Oh yeah, he was very
wanting to,
angry. He
yeah,
was very angry, and I bought the house without him. So a part of
right.
the way that he was abusive was when something needed to be done around the
His
house, he wouldn't
ego.
do it because he was like, "My
Mm,
name is not on the house. This is your house." So when
wow.
it was time for him to get his things and leave and his trash bags,
That's
and I
right.
packed all his shit in them
Mhm.
trash bags, he had to
Get
get
out my house.
out my
Right.
house, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so how did that, so what did that look like? I mean,
Oh, what it looked like? Well, because I had given birth and it was like 7 days. It was the 30th of January, and he was just like, it was like coming to a head. And I was telling him I want my keys. I said, "You're not being supportive. Give me the keys back to my home. You got to go." I had gotten home before him and I had already started packing his stuff and I had put it in the foyer. And I was like, "Okay, here's your things, leave and give me my keys." And when I went to grab my keys from him, he took that. Now he was a bouncer, like 6'4",
mm,
over 250 pounds.
oh
And
yeah,
when
yeah.
I grabbed, I'm 5'5". So when I grabbed my keys from him, he took that as a sign or opportunity
Aggression.
to
Mm,
then say that he was defending himself.
yeah.
So then
Mhm.
he struck me, but then I also come from a long line of women who don't F
Tolerate
around,
that.
and
Right,
I
tolerate that.
punched his ass in the face. Yeah. And so in that moment, I was just like, I'm not going to deal with this. I literally, like on my maternal side, I had to remember my mother leaving my father. I had to remember my grandmother leaving her first husband. I had to remember that. And I had to clear the cloud from around my head and be like, girl, you need
Yes.
to wake the F up, and get
Mhm.
your shit together because you can't live like this and you're not going to do this for the rest of your life. And I just didn't want, also didn't, I was determined not to allow my children ever to witness me and having that imprint on them of me being
Absolutely.
harmed by another person. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because a lot of times, a lot of people don't understand what type of stain that leaves, towards the children. So I'm glad you
Mhm.
did that. So
Yeah.
when so once you kicked his butt out, did he give you a hard time after that?
He
Was he
did.
stalking you and
He stalked
trying to?
me. He
Yeah.
broke into my house. Yep, he
Uh,
broke into
mm,
my house. He would come into my house. I didn't know he had made a key, and he would break. He was
wow.
terrorizing me like a psychological kind of terrorism. He would break things and put them back. So when I would go, like say, I
What?
would go and pick up a mirror, it would
And it
just
just
fall
falls
apart.
apart.
Yeah, because
Oh
he
my
broke it.
God.
And I'm like, how the hell did this break? I was missing jewelry. I'm like, what? And he actually, my I tell the story on my channel.
Okay.
The way that we found out he broke in was because he was breaking in was my mom was visiting and she was at the house one day and she heard somebody knock. She thought it was a delivery person and then she heard keys jingling and he came into the house. And then
What?
she looked and he looked at her. She said it looked like he had a baby in his pants. Okay. She looked like he shit on himself. And she was like, he was so shocked, but then was like, oh, I just came here to get the title to my car. And then when she let him through the threshold, in which her and I had a time with that, I had to
Right.
talk to her about that.
Right.
But she allowed him through the threshold, allowed him to go in my room, and he like stole some jewelry. And he did get the title to his car, but he also stole some of my jewelry. And to this day, will say that he didn't do it. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is insane. And
Yeah.
there's a reason why I wanted to revisit some of these things. 'Cause like you said, this, could be some teachable moments for a lot of people that are
Mhm.
experiencing this. That's why I want to kind of get some little details about it to see
Yeah,
what the signs are, to see how it looks from the outside looking in, and understanding more about how much they identify with you in
yeah,
this journey. So
yeah,
that's why I wanted to kind of get a little bit into it,
yeah, I hope it does help
Yeah.
someone.
Oh,
Yeah,
it has. It helped me because I tell you, we got more in common than I thought, Erica. Wow. Just I mean,
yeah,
so far, just talking to you so far, I'm realizing we got a lot of things in common.
yeah.
Yeah. So I thank you so much for even being brave enough to even share this with me. I
Oh,
do
you're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yeah, I I
So
I decide to share it because I know that it will help somebody, and I know that our
absolutely.
silence doesn't help. Yeah,
It doesn't. It doesn't help them or you.
yeah,
It doesn't,
yeah.
especially you.
It actually
You
our
know?
silence helps the ones who harmed us, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that helps them. That keeps their mask
True.
on. I'm all for ripping their mask off. Yeah,
Yes.
their
Please rip
mask
it
off.
off.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this real quick, and because I don't, like I said, before but I really want to know, how did the legal system treat the situation with you? Did the did legal get involved at all?
No, no legal got involved. When I moved, I had him sign something that said he knew I was moving. I don't think he cared enough to be like, you got to stay in the state and this and that.
Mm,
I left the state. And we've been here for over 10 years, 12 years.
okay, so you
Yeah.
left your house. You
Yeah, I
decided
left my
to.
house. I sold my house. Actually, the corporate job that I worked for, they actually they helped me move because it was a promotion. That the reason why I was moving was part of a
Oh,
promotion. I got a job promotion. And so I was like, I have to leave, I gotta leave. I got a job promotion. They helped me move, they helped me sell my house. So it was a smooth transition for me to move back to California.
oh, nice. So I'm glad. See, I'm so glad that happened for you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm so glad. And so let me ask you, what is the state of your co-parenting now?
I'm a terrible co-parent.
Oh, okay.
I'm a terrible, I'm a terrible co-parent. I take care of everything. They've been with me 100% of the time. Those are my babies. So
Mhm. Did he ever try to, or I mean, okay, so he hasn't really atoned in
no,
any
no,
way. He
no, not
hasn't.
at all. No, no, no. He's like
Uh,
I don't even know if you would consider him a narcissist. I don't even think he has enough confidence in himself to be
okay.
that false sense of self. That false sense of self. I don't think he had enough of that, and not even enough to fight. Like he wasn't. He doesn't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this, like, one, did you share this with your sons? Because I'm
Oh yeah.
assuming, and so
Everything.
how do they?
Everything.
Okay. Um,
I always take pride in sharing the age appropriate truth with your children.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not going to make their father seem like he's a great person.
Saint, right, but not right.
Yeah, if they ask me what happened between you and my dad, well, your dad got physically violent with me, and we were just not a match because I wasn't going to put up with a physically violent person. I explained to them as they got older and I would get asked questions, I explained to them what actually happened. So they know exactly everything. And they'll never be able to say I didn't know that about my mom and dad's relationship. My mom told me everything I wanted to know.